Production funding for this program is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Here in the United States, we often think of shoes as an accessory or a fashion statement. But around the world, there are billions of adults and children that don't have shoes, and they face diseases and footborne illnesses as a result. I'm here with a man that has started a global movement through Samaritan's Feet. Join me now for a conversation with our good friend, Manny Ahome.
Thanks, sir.
So, Manny, let's start with your story, and it starts with 3 numbers, 001. Tell us what that means.
You know, I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. Where most people that live in my neighborhood live in less than $1 a day. And I used to wake up every single morning and pray that prayer. God, give me 001. I mean, it's okay if I don't have breakfast or lunch, but at least give me supper so I can make it to the next day. Because that's the reality of the people that I grew up in and grew up with. They don't know where the next meal, they don't know where the next opportunity. So come talking about providing shoes where people live on less than $1 a day, that's luxury. I was one of those kids. I mean, I used to help my mom sell water. Most people probably have seen a Discovery Channel episode with African kids carrying baskets in their hand. I used to be a child like I used to sell water and soft drinks to athletes who come play sports by my house. And one day when I showed up at that park to go sell water, there was this group of missionaries that came to teach African children how to play sports. They brought these little orange balls, and if you grew up in my neighborhood, everything is round and bounds. We kind of kick them, you know.
You thought it was a soccer ball. You're like, hey, let's kick this.
This stuff looks good. But they were having fun. But the cool thing was, as we were having fun, I wanted to join them. But this guy's one of the street merchants selling water and soft drinks. They didn't want me to join them. I learned one of the first lessons. Sometimes if you got to go after your dreams, you just got to be willing to just jump through the line, go after whatever it is. Because there's plenty of dream killers in the world. And that day, they thought we were going to stop the pursuit of my destiny. Well, I stood around the corner, I watched the ball go around one of them, the loose ones. I grabbed them and snuck right in and joined them. And started teaching us how to dribble and shoot. And then this missionary, he had the audacity to say, we're going to have a shooting competition. And he said, the prize for the winner is going to be a new pair of shoes. You should have seen that place went crazy.
Because a pair of shoes, that's unheard of. And especially in your neighborhood, that's like having a Mercedes-Benz.
It is. A pair of shoes like a car. And for most kids, come talk about the tennis shoes. So it's crazy, so everybody want to get picked, including myself. And I got getting picked that day. I never played basketball in my life, but the first shot I took that, it was nothing but net. I told people all the time that I think the Angels are working overtime because they must have gotten my shots in. But the beauty, I took 2 shots that had changed my world. And then as I won, and this missionary called me to the front, and he was about to present me this brand new pair of shoes. And he should have seen my face. I haven't stopped smiling because the joy was so real. Because that day, I was going to take off. All I just want to do was just run home and go show off my new car. And this missionary grabbed me by the shoulder. And he said, just because all you see around you is poverty doesn't mean God has forgotten about you. He said, son, keep dreaming and keep dreaming big. You could have told me that day the sky was green. I'd have believed him. It was crazy. And after I finished speaking, all I did was take off. I ran so fast, Jeremy, I forgot my basket of water. and I showed up at home, and Mom knew something was wrong because I wasn't carrying the stuff in my head. Said, where's my water?
Yeah,
I said,
where's the water? Come on.
Check out my shoes. And Mama was so happy for me, and it was crazy. After a few minutes, his son, after you've enjoyed it, so you better go bring my water back. You're also about to meet Jesus. And it was so great. But basketball became my love because, it was tough at home when you grew up in a home where there's addiction, where there's alcohol problems.
Because your dad was an alcoholic.
And it was a very tough situation. But the reality is sometimes, people get stuck in the world and they pursue things to help fill void. And it was tough because I was his oldest son. And so basketball became my sanctuary. So I started playing basketball on the basketball court. As I got bigger, as I got better, I finished high school. My dream was one day I want to be able to actually go play basketball overseas. But I didn't know how I was going to get there. I had dreams just like every child in Africa. But my dream could just be as far as the moon. But I always wonder, why do we live so poor? And it's amazing every time I talk to my mom, I say, Mom, why do we have to live like this? I mean, isn't there hope? Isn't there a solution to our problem? Doesn't somebody answer our prayer? And it's amazing every time I speak, I always tell people, my mom would take me by the window. And they say, son, I want to look outside. And I say, son, what do you see? And I'll look outside and I'll ramble. And I said, Mom, there are trees out there. We're in Africa. I said, no, son, you're not looking high enough. She said, look higher. And I said, Mom, there are birds flying. She said, son, you're not looking high enough. he said, Mom, it's the clouds. He said, ever wonder why God created the sky so high? I said, I don't know, Mama. And she said, so poor boys like you can dream real high. He said, son, never make an excuse for life. He said, yeah, today may be a little crappy day, but tomorrow may be a little better day. He said, but just keep dreaming and keep pursuing your dreams. And I started dreaming, I started believing. And eventually one day my coach helped connect me with some schools in America. I ended up getting 5 scholarship offers.
Well, I think it's funny the way you chose your school. But before you tell that story, go back to your dad, though, because I think it's a really powerful thing when you talk about your mother and having to kind of intervene in a way, but to put a blessing on you pretty much every single day.
It's amazing because I think when you live with somebody that's affected by some type of addiction, the people that are closest to them are the ones that share and feel the brunt of that particular sickness and that pain. I was the one they'll take it out on. All I ever heard from him is thou never amount to anything, and every time he gets mad and drunk, guess who he takes it out on? And he would swear and curse at me, and I always wondered, man, can I ever do anything right for this man? But every time he'll do that, my mom will come behind him and put her hands on my head. And she always said, man, and every time, in the name of Jesus, whatever curse this man puts on my son, would you let that curse not come to pass? Because you promised me that this young man is going to do great things. She always had a way of saying all the right things to put my perspective back into the one, because I was created, she always told me, I was created for a reason. And there's no accident in God's economy. She always reminds me that I'm special. Even though my world may be a little crazy, but she always had a way of bringing it back, that I am a solution to a world's problem.
And there you go. So let's fast forward to you're picking out your universities and your college where you want to play basketball. You're getting scholarships, and you decide to pick it based on the most colorful brochure.
I said I'm gonna go to the school with the best looking brochure, and they had some beautiful looking girls on the face of the brochure. And I grew up in Africa. I knew about New York, Los Angeles, and Houston, Texas. So I picked the University of North Dakota in Lake Region.
The coldest place in the world.
And I said, wow, I showed up in North Dakota. Because I couldn't afford, my parents couldn't afford to send me there. They sold just about everything they had. The school actually gave up on me. They thought I wasn't coming. I was supposed to be showing up around June. I didn't get there till after September, right before October. And they had an early winter. And I was wearing the best suit that my family could get me. And I showed up and I was walking from the bus station to my school. I said, I've done something wrong to God. African people should live in this kind of place. And it was crazy. But the cool thing about there is the people showed me love. I finished there, transferred to another school and up in Fargo area, and then actually ended up getting my master's at the North Dakota State University, because I had a double emphasis in economics and business, and then in supply chain management, because my dream was one day to be able to provide food for children around the world, never knowing that I'll be used as a solution to actually do something much greater. Well, I pursued a career in the supply chain space. I was in the technology business, living the dream.
Yeah, you did very well.
Very successful. Company got acquired, joined another one, but through that process, my father got really sick. And it's amazing in life, all of us get the chance to make choices. But the beauty of our choices is we never get a chance to pick a consequence. And my father's choice to abuse alcohol led to the consequence of him being diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver, and his organs were failing. And my father, through that process, actually ended up dying. And I had to go back to Africa to go bury my dad. But you got to put it in context. I've been away from home for over 10 years.
Right.
I grew up in the place where we only had 2 bedrooms with 15 children. My mom and dad had a bedroom. The rest of us had a bedroom. The first bed I slept on was actually at my college dormitory. You should have seen that day, Jeremy. I laid in my bed on the first day. I said, I've died, gone to heaven. This is amazing. This is the way the people on the other side live. But it's crazy because the reality of our world was so different. And I showed up that day, and I got to my house. I was so overwhelmed I couldn't even use that bathroom, because I now live in this world of affluence. I've been Americanized. I had to go use the bathroom over there by that court across from my house at that park where I used to sell water. And that's when my eyes got open. That's when I saw those children with no shoes. That's when I remembered, I'm pretty sure somebody planted that seed in my mind, and it's got to be God, because I know I was there when that missionary gave me my first pair of shoes. And what will it be like if I can start coming to help children just like this? With the generosity and love that I've been received, what if I can pay back and be a conduit of hope to those children just like me? But the reality was so different, because I live in a world now where I had children, had family. I was like, man, I'm so comfortable. They just know, maybe I'll write some checks, maybe I'll do this. But I couldn't shake those feelings off. It took me almost 5 years before I finally said yes. then my wife and I decided to unplug from what we know is about success, because all I want to do, I said, by the time I'm 30, I want to be a millionaire. I had all these goals, but I didn't realize there was a far bigger and greater reason why I was created. It wasn't just about money. It was about using my life as a conduit to inspire hope and help bring transformation to our world.
Well, I think that's what's powerful is you're very successful on this career track. And you say, you know what, there's a more powerful purpose for me. And so you and your wife, you quit that job and you invest everything you have to start Samaritan's Feet with the goal of 10 million shoes in 10 years.
Absolutely.
And when you look at where you are today, 6.5 million have been impacted by your efforts. That's a huge number. And you've also branched out into learning centers and doing a lot of other things, entrepreneurial incubators. So you've really used the shoes as the inspiration to drive hope, but it's become much, much larger, thousands of volunteers. Share some of the numbers. I mean, when you talk about the number of countries, the number of cities, give us some ideas.
It's amazing. I mean, put it in context, we've served children now in just about 80 countries all over the world, 365 communities across the United States. We engage over 10,000 new volunteers every single year alone across the United States, and thousands more all over the globe. We headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina, with offices now in South Africa, in Nigeria, in Brazil, in Hong Kong and Argentina, getting ready to open our next office in the Philippines. I always wonder, people said, can one person make a difference? I just always wonder where my good friend, that aid worker that came years ago, where he'll be today, because of his yes. I'm standing and sitting right in front of you today, living a dream. I'm now using the platform, the gift I've been given, even though what I thought was a life lived in abject poverty, I never knew was going to be the greatest gift I've been given to prepare me for a world I couldn't even have fathomed. Today, we've now had a number of organizations all across the world now trying to help us fulfill this mission. And I think there's a collective impact of now close to 30 million kids. Wow. People now said, I want to use shoes as a vehicle to be a humanitarian response to help people in need. Because 1.234 billion children worldwide are infected by soil-transmitted parasites. 1.34, that's over a billion number. Children. And about 1 million kids either die or lose their feet each year because of something we take for granted, shoes. Many children can go to school in many parts of the world because shoes is part of their school uniform. Without that, they're displaced. They never go pursue their dreams. So we thought that was an injustice, that somebody got to do something about that. And after we now realized that, 10 million didn't seem so far. We've actually accomplished this goal.
Right, absolutely.
Now we're asking ourselves the question, can we honestly create a world with zero shoeless children?
Wow.
Can we eradicate
this? Look at how far you're coming already.
Just the trap. If within our lifetime we can say we were part of a movement that eradicated this tropical disease in our world, that children shouldn't have to be infected by podoconiosis, this non-filarial type of elephantiasis all across the world, because they live in farming communities and they have lacerations, and this stuff comes into their feet and blows up. And if you're a father, you can't work. You don't have income, you can't support your family. And all of a sudden, we can solve that problem. Kids can't go to school. We can solve that problem. In our country, people think all this needs overseas. Right here in Memphis, right. In my city of Charlotte, in Los Angeles, in Chicago, cities, 365 cities all across America, we are helping to prepare kids to go to school, because you know what, Jeremy? Moms and dads and grandparents have to make decisions every year. Do I buy food? Do I pay for school? Do I pay my medicine, or do I provide shoes for my kids to go to school and compete in sports? What if we can relieve that pain and that tension in this family's budget, and they can use the money for something more strategic? But while we do that, it's not just about the shoes for us, because our volunteers really sit down in front of millions of kids and look them eyeball to eyeball and wash their feet.
And that's the beauty. So I want to backtrack a little bit. We brought you to Memphis back in 2009. So we've known each other now for over 6 years, which is amazing. And when we brought you in, you shared your story, and we were so inspired. We said, we're going to do these shoe distributions here in Memphis, and we're going to create this relationship. And it's been amazing. Thousands and thousands of kids, thousands of volunteers coming in. And to your point, and that's what I wanted you to kind of describe, is the process. But it's amazing because you see business and city leaders coming down, humbling themselves, servant leadership at its finest, washing the kids' feet, interacting, and you have this sea of chaos with all these people, and yet these very private, intimate moments where you're talking about their past, their future, what they want to be when they grow up, and all of those types of things, and you have these amazing friendships that are formed. and you have tears. I mean, you have tears of joy, of just all the way across. Share with us the power of what we're talking about, because also too, you're now the healing agent for Hutus and Tutsis and generations of countries fighting each other, and now they're having to wash each other's feet.
It's powerful because I think one of the greatest symbolic gesture that my role model taught me. I read about him in the greatest book that I've ever read called the Bible. He's the son of a Jewish carpenter. Some people call him Jesus. I always love to call him Emmanuel because I'm named after him. But the beauty is, the greatest act he did before he left this world, he humbled himself and he washed the feet of his disciples. He said, if you want to be great in life, you've got to humble yourself and be a servant. We talk about servant leadership in boardroom all across the world. It's a cliche that we use, but we've actually provided a vehicle to help actualize. We're a CEO, a leader of a corporation like a FedEx, like a AutoZone, like a General Motors, like a Coca-Cola, like a president of a country, the governor of a state, a mayor of a city can sit in front of a child or sit in front of a homeless person and wash their feet and put new shoes on them. They have wounds, they bandage their wounds. They dignify those people and tell them that they are special, they are somebody. And you get the chance to have conversation. Oftentimes you think that person is being completely transformed, not realizing the transformation is happening on this side of the wash basin. That's the beauty of this. And then you have I've seen things here in Memphis where this child, was talking to this volunteer, and this volunteer, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a police officer. And he's, oh man, I'm a police officer. Would you mind riding with us, something to show you? All of a sudden, you connect. And maybe you become a mentor to that person. Maybe you're a banker, maybe you're a teacher, you are somebody in whatever kind of medical field. And that job, the connection always happens providentially somehow. And then you build a relationship, a friendship that lasts beyond that day. So your 2, 3, 4 hours of investment becomes a lifetime of 2 transformed lives. That's the beauty of Samaritan's Feet. And you see countries like Rwanda and like Burundi and Zimbabwe and other parts of the Middle East where people are literally killing each other, where you see enemies wash each other's feet and ask for forgiveness. And then every time I look at that shoe, I will know that I made a covenant between my Creator and my fellow man, that I will live in peace, in praising fathers washing the feet of their sons and daughters, reading letters of forgiveness, asking them to forgive them for the wrong they've done. And that every time they see those shoes, they will always remember that their father loved them, that don't come back here. Those are stories of reconciliation that's happening, because that's when people realize that they are valued in your life. So it means you see the tears.
Well, I know we had an opportunity, my wife and I, to go and join you in Florida and working with an immigrant camp there. And there was a 15-year-old that she was deaf, and her mother had pulled her out of school, didn't really know what to do with her, and she just sat all day long watching television. And here you have a volunteer washing her feet, learning that story, and in walks a parent who is deaf of another child, and all of a sudden we pull them together and they start signing, and they, huge smile on her face, because now she's like, wait a second, there's someone else like me that I can communicate with. And then turn out that all of a sudden there's a group that gets together on a regular basis to support each other, to help with education, the whole 9 yards. And they're meeting, ironically, the very next week. So those sort of opportunities, the relationships you build, the power, it really is transformative. And share with us when you talk about what's next. Already 6.5 million shoes. You're the charity of choice for the NCAA. You have NFL players that take off their shoes at the end of the game. You have coaches, professional in college, that are taking off their shoes and coaching a game barefoot. You have pastors here in Memphis that say, I'm going to preach to my congregation barefoot to raise awareness for Samaritan's Feet. What's next?
Well, I think in terms of people still got to know, because as the more people know, that's truly when we can actually create this world with zero shoeless children. Because we want to create a reverse counter, Jeremy. We want to count back to zero until every child has a pair of shoes, and every child that's infected with tropical disease that comes into the feet, that is stopped by providing them shoes. We want to create a world shoe that actually has this organic-based antimicrobial agent in there, that when they wear these shoes, it actually eats away all the fungus and infection that can easily come through their feet.
Well, because in Africa, they're not wearing socks, so that's where...
Because you walk through water, you walk through debris, you walk through feces, you walk through all this stuff. I mean, think about what just happened in West Africa with the Ebola virus. Somebody spit and you have an open cut on your feet. That becomes a vehicle to transmit that stuff into your bloodstream. So those are things that we can prevent by wearing shoes. And when we have this natural antimicrobial agent built in there that fights away those types of things, all of a sudden you have a shoe that's not just protecting your feet, but also preventing diseases occurring in your life. So that's one of the directions. But we have to also do it in such a way that we can create a model to be able to sustain this mission and this movement. Because how do we commercialize something like this? So from a social enterprise perspective, we create an economic platform and a vehicle to help sustain the mission going forward. Because the reality is, it costs money to provide these shoes. I mean, for about $20, I mean, we got to be able to manufacture a pair of shoes. We got to be able to transport the pair of shoes. We got to be able to ship that pair of shoes. We got to be able to make sure somebody go wash somebody's feet in that country, in that city, in that community, to be able to create this experience, this magic, and all of a sudden 2 lives are changed.
So what you're saying is, for that one experience, there's a lot of back-end work that goes to it.
There's a lot of it, you know, and we've been very blessed. We've had partners, you know, from the likes of Crocs, from the likes of Skechers, from the likes of Nike. We've had partners from the likes of Sears and Kmart that stepped up, you know. I mean, I can stay here, Under Armour, a whole bunch of companies have done their part. Converse has done their part. I mean, we can get to 6.5 million, and all these other companies like the Toms, like the, you know, Skechers that are now using their one-for-one platform that didn't exist when we started this mission. Now we've become a movement maker that's now really just galvanizing a group of people to say, we can solve this problem, both from a commercial, also from a nonprofit. And we want to be able to create a framework to do that. So if we can do that every time you do support that for this manufactured shoe, we can go give one of this kind of shoe away. So that's where we're going next. And also, after we provide these kids shoes, we want to make sure these kids are educated. That's why through our Women Ambassadors of Samaritan's Feet, they've established 4 major computer learning centers, which are our schools of tomorrow. Because 10, 15, 20 years from now, it won't matter where your school is located. You can have a school in the middle of Bujumbura, Burundi, or somewhere in Nakuru, Kenya, or maybe somewhere like in Edo State in Nigeria, Lagos, where a teacher is actually right here in Memphis or the other side of Jackson, Mississippi.
The power of technology.
That's the power. And we want to, so we're building these learning centers with access to the internet, and then teachers that can actually connect through the World Wide Web and educate these kids. We're doing that. Our Women Ambassadors are actually providing all this feminine hygiene kits. Now, after we provided shoes, we realized some of these girls are not going to school because they're 12, 13, sometimes 11-year-old. Once they start having their cycle because they have no hygiene product, they don't go to school because they smell. And then once their parents realize you're old enough to have this cycle, that means you're old enough to have babies and get married. So they marry them away. So my wife and I said, oh, that's an injustice. So now we are partnered with a number of groups making this reusable feminine hygiene product. So after we give these girls shoes, we also let them know that their body is special, protected, wear this hygiene product, reuse it so you don't miss school, because once you miss school for a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they don't come back. So we want to stop that cycle, and because that's where they get stuck in poverty. And girls, I mean, you reach a lady, you know, at an early age, she goes to school, she becomes part of a family. I promise you that will change the trajectory of that family anywhere in the world.
So I want to wrap up. You ask your staff 3 questions every day. In about 2 minutes, what are those questions?
The first question is, you know, is your community better or worse today with you in there? Because if you're not making the contribution, then why are you there? The second question is, you know, if I don't show up tomorrow, who's going to care? Will anybody miss me? Because if nobody missed you, that means you haven't impacted anybody. And I always tell people wrapped up in themselves make really small packages because you're not placed here by accident. And lastly, who did you serve today? Because the greatest example of a leader is not just one that stands at the top of a mountain and beckoning and yelling at people, but the ones that goes down and hold their hands out and beckon them to call. Because when you serve, you do something great, not just for them, but also you, and it creates a world that's far better than we found.
So I am completely blown away. It's hard not to just absolutely love you, your story, what you're doing, but most importantly, really for everybody watching, I mean, there's so many easy ways to plug in with Samaritan's Feet, and I definitely encourage everyone to learn more, get involved. We do shoe distributions right here in Memphis, so you can see the local impact. Manny, I greatly appreciate everything you've done and for being a global ambassador. It's the power of shoes and what it stands for, but it truly can change lives. So thank you very much for coming on A Conversation with Manny Ahome.
Thank you very much for having me.